Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, January 25th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. Today is my son's 5th birthday, and I just wanted to say, happy birthday, Anthony. Daddy loves you. I am very proud of you. I hope you listen to this one day and know how much I love you and how proud I am of you. You can expect mostly clear skies and a high of 74 degrees as the early part of the week should feature warm and sunny weather. Today, the House will deliver articles of impeachment to the Senate, which has already agreed to delay the trial of President Donald Trump for 2 weeks. Read more about the deepening schisms in the already divided Senate over at expressnews.com. Texas Holocaust Remembrance Week begins today and runs through Friday. In the wake of a state report recommending elimination of a genocide education commission, advocates say the mission of teaching values of understanding and diversity remain critical today. Scott Huddleston has more in his latest article over at expressnews.com. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. Education leaders across the country predicted massive learning loss would result when schools were shuttered last March by the coronavirus pandemic. Studies are beginning to show just how severe the COVID slide has been, and parents are crying out for help. One of the reasons state education officials decided not to cancel the State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness, or STAAR, in the spring is to gauge the dimensions of the learning loss, though its value there will be limited because it won't be mandatory. But locally, some school districts have already given other tests to students. And Northside ISD Superintendent Brian Wood says leaders will present results to their Board of Trustees. There's clearly learning loss, and learning loss in mathematics is more dramatic than it seems to be in reading, Wood said. That aligns with state and national trends. Krista Torava has more in her latest article. Someone used Nicole Layla Olsen's cell phone to call 911 4 times within 2 minutes late on the night before she and her 2 daughters were found shot to death at her boyfriend's home outside of San Antonio 2 years ago, according to phone records. They were the last calls made from Olsen's phone, according to a page from her phone bill obtained by the San Antonio Express News. None resulted in a conversation, though a 911 operator tried to return one of the calls, Sheriff Javier Salazar confirmed. The apparent attempt to communicate with emergency dispatchers, whoever made it, only deepens the mystery surrounding the final hours of Olsen and the 2 girls in the $1 million house in the Anaqua Springs Ranch subdivision in northwest Bexar County. Peggy O'Hare has all the latest in that case over at expressnews.com. Jose Martinez and his neighbors just want to be able to stop worrying about whether they or their homes will be struck by stray bullets. Their rural community along FM 1937 in South Bexar County is not a crime-ridden area. The neighborhood is, however, about 500 feet behind the targets of a gun range they say went up more than a year ago. The owners of the 281 Country Club, a recreational complex off US 281 West that includes the gun range, say the bullets could be coming from anywhere in the rural area. Martinez and other residents say the bullets from the shooting range are not being contained by the existing backstops. Jacob Beltran and Mark Dunphy take a closer look at the dispute in their latest article. Years before COVID-19 emerged, the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District developed a plan to handle exactly such a catastrophic public health scenario. Metro Health's operational pandemic flu plan drew lessons from the H1N1 influenza pandemic of 2009. The plan was developed after the federal government poured millions of dollars into state and local governments to help them prepare as outbreaks of avian and swine flu viruses erupted. Now that the pandemic nightmare has occurred, those plans have streamlined some elements of the local response, most notably the rapid creation of 4 mass vaccination sites. But the shortage of vaccine across the country, as well as lagging distribution, has made it impossible for health providers to enact the city's plan in full. Brian Chasnoff and Marina Starleaf-Riker break down the situation in their latest article. Now that more Texans can receive the coronavirus vaccine, we have everything you need to know about it over at expressnews.com. We also have a dashboard monitoring how much of the state has been vaccinated, and another dashboard where we're tracking San Antonio's COVID-19 case counts, hospitalizations, positivity rates, and more. Head over to expressnews.com to check out those dashboards. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. The number of Bexar County residents who have died from COVID-19 continued to climb Sunday as officials reported double-digit deaths for the sixth day in a row. Since March, 1,967 Bexar County residents have died of COVID-19. An 18-wheeler carrying thousands of bees rolled over just northwest of downtown San Antonio, releasing swarms of bees and shutting down traffic Sunday morning. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is pushing the state to refine its criteria for COVID-19 vaccination eligibility, saying that whittling down the list may better prioritize vulnerable Texans and clear up confusion over when shots will actually be available. After Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton pledged to fight against the many unconstitutional and illegal actions that the new administration will take, he filed a suit challenging President Joe Biden's temporary pause on deportations for certain non-citizens. Two San Antonio area men accused of ripping off investors in oil and gas ventures are on the hook for millions of dollars after a federal judge found their fraudulent conduct permeated the projects from start to finish. San Antonio's USAA intended to start bringing workers back to offices on February 1st, but now has scrapped that date, according to spokesman Matt Hartwig. A new date has not been set. President Biden's quick but cautious moves to undo the more draconian immigration policies of his predecessor spawned both trepidation and expectation in the lower Rio Grande Valley. A group of San Antonio organizers who want to strip the police union of its ability to negotiate a contract with the city raised nearly $300,000 last year, most of it from anonymous sources. U.S. Representative Filemon Vela, a Brownsville Democrat who was elected vice chair of the Democratic National Committee through 2025, said Democrats have a lot of work to do in Texas, especially in areas south of Texas. Even with 3 weeks left in the filing period for city council races, it's already clear who this year's most fascinating candidate will be, writes Gilbert Garcia. His latest piece introduces you to Jalen McKee Rodriguez. A group of residents living near Mission San Jose might be small and not yet have a name, but they have a mighty cause. Elena Yala elaborates in her latest column. Business columnist Chris Tomlinson writes, quote, "The burgeoning battery industry is discovering that when you create a demand for a product or service, entrepreneurs will scramble to create supply." Historic moments that expand possibilities and celebrate the breaking of barriers should be appreciated and neither rushed, taken for granted, nor overlooked, writes the Express News editorial board. Such is the moment that Vice President Kamala Harris inhabits and that will always be hers, and this nation's. This week in history, on January 27th, 2020, Kobe Bryant, along with his daughter and 7 other people, died in a helicopter crash during inclement weather in Southern California. Sports columnist Mike Finger wrote about the relationship between the Spurs and Kobe Bryant. Quote, "Kobe Bryant was an obstacle and the Spurs realized it from the beginning. Before they ever hoisted a trophy, he stood in their way, a skinny kid with the undeniable makings of greatness, and beating him eventually became an obsession." When Jack and Carol Banowski were planning their retirement home on land they owned in Boerne, they knew they wanted a place with views of the wooden surroundings from every angle inside the house and an interior design that didn't distract from those views. They also wanted the house to reflect both their love of living in the country and their more modern aesthetic. The result is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom architect-designed house in a style they call mid-century country for its mix of multiple sloping roofs and a plethora of windows with limestone facade and recycled lumber. Take a closer look at the house over at expressnews.com. San Antonio kids can now play ninja in a new Huppert's Elementary School obstacle course. The school purchased the new equipment along with other supplies and furniture through a grant from the Texas Education Agency. Read about how they're keeping the new equipment clean and safe over at expressnews.com. Malik Rose was a good NBA player, but how is he as a cheesesteak maker? Check out our 52 Weeks of Food Trucks review of Malik's Philly's famous cheesesteaks. In this week's Paul's Cooking Tips, Paul Stevens shares where to find all the Latin American food items that aren't Mexican. Ty Reasoner and Micah Young head up the Express News all-area football teams. See who else earned recognitions for the 2020 season over at expressnews.com. Calvin Finch has your guide to the small trees you should plant in your San Antonio garden, while Neil Sperry's down-to-earth column answers readers' questions about Texas leaf-cutting ants, lawn work, and more. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Monday, January 25th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all of the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review the podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.